Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and it's Wednesday. It is Wednesday, and on Wednesdays I do my Q&A video where I basically answer your questions each week. And I got some really great questions that's going to force me to show lots of cool books. So stay tuned for the cool books. So we're going to get into the first one. Frank Hubel wrote, "Do you collect just for entertainment and joy as a hobby, or do you collect as a future investment?" Well, I like to do both, actually. So all these books, this is pure entertainment for me. This is my oasis away from the reality of my life. I have a very stressful job, and this collecting comics I really enjoy. I really love my comics. I find them very entertaining. I find them beautiful to look at. I enjoy the comics. But I also look at them as an investment. And I see, that future payout, that these will be worth a lot of money, and maybe there'll be a legacy generated for my kids that they can sell them and like retire, on the comics or something like that. I do see that potential, and that's my ultimate goal is to have that $1 million collection or multi-million-dollar collection that my kids can retire on. So I do see it as an investment, not necessarily for myself. Maybe in my retirement I might sell a few just to pay bills if I have to pay bills. But for the most part, I just see it for fun. But I do enjoy the idea of, even though I'm not selling the books, I do enjoy when comics go up in value, and it just makes me feel like, oh wow, I have this really valuable book, even though I never sell it. So it's weird, but I enjoy the value going up on the books. Um, the other question you asked was, besides comic books, do you collect anything else like action figures, trading cards, etc.? Yes and no. I don't really actively collect other things right now. Like right now, I'm mainly focused on comics, though I do collect coins. Semi-actively, I buy the sets of coins that they produce each year. So I get those every year. And also I collect bills, like currency, and I collect posters, like movie posters, and I collect old books, and I collect some figures that are related to comics. I'm going to show you one. This is my little Vampirella. I really like Vampirella. So she's kind of one of my favorite characters. So this is Vampirella. This is from 1971, I believe. This is the Aurora model kit. You could order this at the back of the magazines with Vampirella. It even has the bat. And this one was professionally painted. So they don't usually look like this. This has actually been painted. And then I also collect somewhat, not really, but I like them. I do love Funko Pops. I think they look so cool. So this is a Wonder Woman one that was given to me by my friend Falco. So I like this Funko, and I usually have it displayed in front of me so that I can see it all the time. So I do like certain Funkos. I think they're really cool. So those are some of the things that I collect other than comics. But I don't actively collect as much as I do with comics. Do you think a picture of an or on an old order book or a previous or magazine or previews, or sorry, a previews, I can't even read my own writing, previews or magazine of a character should be considered as a first appearance, or do you think that just the appearances in comic books do count? Okay, so this is one of those questions that people ask a lot. What is a true first appearance? So, you get those preview magazines, and in those preview magazines, they actually show the covers or the first appearances sometimes of characters that you can order the comics related to them. So, is the magazine preview the first appearance, or is it the first appearance that appears in the comic? Personally, and this is my kind of way of getting around that dilemma, because like there's a lot of people that go out and seek the ads that have that first appearance. Like anytime the first appearance is on the cover and then there's an ad for that book that appears like a few months earlier, then is the first appearance in that in that book, or is it the first appearance that's in the actual comic? So here's the way I get around all of that problem. I collect both. so, so the way I like it is I like going after that first comic book appearance. So where they are actually in the story, it's about them, it's a true first appearance. And then I also like finding those earlier appearances where it's like a magazine, it's an ad, or whatever. So I actually do like both. I give more value, though, to their true first appearance, which is within the story. So, if it's Amazing Fantasy 15, where you get the first Spider-Man on the cover, and that's, his true first appearance, the ad that might have appeared in an earlier book comic for that, or if there was a previews magazine that had that, I would like to buy those, but I wouldn't pay as much for those as I would for the true first comic book appearance. Now, there's another thing that happens, and this is very different than that previews idea or ad idea, is where it doesn't actually appear in a comic or even a comic previews magazine, but it appears in a magazine. And I can think of a few like that where if you look at, there was, I forgot what magazine it is, but I have it. It's the one with Empire Strikes Back. And it features, it's a magazine that came out before the comics. And it has the first appearance of Yoda, it has the first appearance of Boba Fett, has the first appearance of all these major characters that were in Empire Strikes Back before they appeared in the comics. So I believe collecting that is kind of cool, but I prefer and give more value to the first appearance of the comics. It's just like right up there, you can see I have Donald Duck. That is actually the first appearance of Donald Duck. But that's not a comic. It's a large format book. And I like to get that because it's cool, but also I'd like to get that first appearance in comics. So those are kind of two things I collect at the same time. The same goes with, there's lots of characters that appeared in Disney magazines first, and then they later appeared in comics. So what I try to get is that first comic book appearance first. That's like higher on my priority list. And then those earlier appearances, I give less value in my mind to them, even though they are earlier appearances, but they're not comic book appearances. So I kind of have a bit of a bias towards the comics. But at the same time, I still give value to getting those true first appearances that might have happened in a book, might have happened in a magazine, might have happened in a previews, might have happened in an ad. I think those are kind of fun to chase after, but I don't value them as high. That's the way I get around this dilemma, the dilemma of it. And I think that's a good approach. But I see the true first appearance as being the one that is in the comic, that it has to be a comic book appearance. And that's a bit of my own personal bias towards comics. So I hope that addresses that way of that dilemma. It's because it's one of those things that a lot of people within the comic book collecting community have been arguing about. What is the true first appearance? Well, that's my way of answering it. Next question comes from Mike Swintel. What is your favorite hologram cover? Okay, now this one's going to be funny. And actually, he said, oh, even if you don't own it, what is it? Actually, I own my favorite hologram cover. And the reason I like it is not necessarily because it's my favorite looking hologram cover. It just happens to be my favorite for more of a different reason, and I'll show you. It's horrible. It's like the ugliest thing, but this is it. This is Arc Comics Premiere, and this is number 1, and this is a hologram. I can maybe make it work. It doesn't really work that well. And it's on this beautiful background of rainbowness. And you're probably wondering, why, Alan, would you like this the most? Well, the reason I like this the most of all the hologram covers is I love history. I'm a big history buff. And this hologram comic cover is the very first time that holograms were ever on comics. This is the very first hologram on a cover. So it has that historical significance to me. And you can actually see how much I paid for it. See, it says $3.50. I got 2 copies for that price. So these are not valuable. It's very affordable. You can pick this up all day long for about $2. But it is historically significant because it is the first hologram cover on a comic. So I just think it's cool. I think it's really cool. So that's why I like it so much. And I like the fact that it's actually horrible looking. In a weird way, that adds to the charm for me. I find it really just horrible looking. And the hologram doesn't really work that well. It's just so funny. So I kind of like it. So I don't know. It's really weird. There's much better looking ones. I like this one. So that's my actually, this is not even a hologram cover, to tell you the truth. This is lenticular cover. This is the very first lenticular cover. And I almost feel like I have to record everything over again. I'm just trying to think of hologram covers now. Oh my goodness. I was thinking the whole time, you know, when you think of something and you get that in your mind and it's like, oh, I'm thinking lenticular cover. But you asked hologram cover. So I'm going to answer your hologram cover too. So I brought a lenticular. That's the very first lenticular, and it is something that I enjoy. But hologram cover, oh my goodness, I didn't even think about it. I was thinking lenticular all the whole time. Okay, I should really edit this out, but I'm not going to. This is the authentic experience that you get with me. My favorite hologram cover, and it's kind of a weird one, is Spider-Man, what's it? Is it 361? Where it's the first appearance of Spider-Man 2099. I like that. I like because I think that was the very first hologram cover I ever saw. So it kind of has that special place in my mind, and it's also a key first appearance. I like the fact that it's Spider-Man hologram. So that would be my favorite. I actually own it. I probably could have brought it if I had been thinking hologram covers the whole time. I'm sorry. I should have shown it. I really feel dumb now. That's really, really sad. Next time, maybe I'll show it. Okay, just remind me to show it in hologram. I can't believe I was thinking lenticular the whole time. Okay. So crazy. Okay. Next question comes from Aussie Comic Book Collector. Why does the Hulk not have chest hair on him anymore? Excluding the shirtless bear fighter, why don't male superheroes have chest hair anymore? Actually, I can think of a bunch of characters that do have chest hair. Like Wolverine and Punisher and Batman even. Neil Adams, when he drew Batman, he would draw him with hairy chest. So there are characters that do have chest hair. So that is not necessarily true that they don't have chest hair anymore. And even Hulk, when they showed him in the movie, they actually had him with chest hair because Mark Ruffalo has lots of hair. He's a very hairy guy. So when he got hulked out, he still had chest hair. But in terms of the comics, Hulk doesn't have chest hair now. Like, he's usually pretty smooth the way that they show him. And part of the reason for that is laziness. That's the simplest answer I could find for this question, is that it's actually annoying to draw chest hair. It's annoying to draw that extra little lines for the chest hair. So that's why a lot of the time they draw the superheroes being smooth. And you can show the definition a bit better when the character has a smooth chest rather than a hairy chest. Now, there are times where artists will deliberately show chest hair to make the character look more savage, which is kind of interesting. So that's why Shirtless Bear Fighter has a hairy chest, because he looks more savage, more manly, you know. So there are times where chest hair kind of comes in favor and out of favor with the artist. So just something that I thought was interesting. Yeah. So I think they just got lazy with Hulk in terms of drawing him with chest hair. Okay, the next question, and this one I actually do have to show a lot of comics for, is Bigby McFly, the comic guy, wrote, "Can you please show your Timely and Atlas comics? Talk about the evolution of pre-Marvel to Marvel as we know it." Okay, so Goodman was the guy that created Marvel as we know it. He created a company called Timely Comics in 1939. He sort of was one of those people, like one of the many companies that sort of jumped on the comic bandwagon when the success of Superman and that Superman franchise happened. Like there was just so many, like that golden age of comics, the beginning of it, 1939, was really the time that inspired a lot of companies to jump on board, because the success of Action Comics really led to people seeing it as a gold mine. That there's this opportunity to make huge money selling comics. So that's the origin of Timely. Now, Timely kind of went into superheroes, and their staple superheroes were Captain America and the Human Torch and Namor. And they also had Namora, but she was not a major one. This is actually her first appearance. But this is Marvel Mystery Comics number 82, and it's the first appearance of Namora. And so they started out focusing on superheroes. So those were the three major ones: Captain Marvel, Human Torch, and Submariner. And so I'll show you some more. It's another one. Other characters that they had were Sun Girl. And here's another Namora. Namora number 1. And another thing that they would have is characters that leveraged some of these side characters. So Human Torch's sidekick was Toro, and Captain America's sidekick was Bucky. And they had a series called Young Allies. This is Young Allies 16, Schomburg cover. And they would, they leveraged these other side characters, these kid characters, and made like other series called Young Allies. So this is another Timely. And one more mystery, Marvel Mystery Comics. And this is another one with Human Torch. And another character that they had was the Blonde Phantom. So during the sort of the golden age, early golden age, during the wartime and sort of that period where it was really popular to have superheroes during the war, especially because the superheroes were great during the Second World War, because you could have them fighting like Nazis and stuff like that. But after the war, there was sort of a cooling off period that happened with superheroes. People sort of fell out of interest with superheroes, maybe because they did get associated to the war. So during the late 40s, early 50s, um, there was sort of like a disconnect where people really didn't want to buy superhero comics as much. So Timely really only lasted from 1939 to 1950, and then it got rebranded and renamed to Atlas in 1951. So it kind of switched names. And then, so what they switched into were this is a Timely book, but during the late 40s they would do these like women kind of comics, like these this is Hetty, but they also did like Patsy Walker and a bunch of these kind of ones that were kind of inspired maybe by Archie, or going that trend, away from superheroes, more like women in the workplace kind of stories, and they would do horror stuff. So I'm going to show some pre-code Marvel horror that are Atlas horror. And they also did some crime and suspense kind of style books. So they had books like A Yellow Claw. This is actually a later book. This is like later in the Atlas run, where you get, this is like 1956. Believe it or not, this is the first appearance of Wu. I think it's Wu. The character that's Johnny, I think it's Johnny Woo, the character that's in WandaVision and Ant-Man. He was kind of an interesting character. And but as I said, with EC kind of being popular during the late 40s, early 50s in horror, Atlas actually had horror titles before that, but they went all on board with horror when they saw the success of EC comics. So you get a lot of these EC kind of related style comics, where we get tales, stories that will hold you spellbound, for example, and adventures into terror. These are, and then we got Uncanny Tales. So these are all Atlas ones. So Atlas ran from 1951 to, it even went into past the, so this is a coded comic. This is Marvel Tales, another series that ran before the code and ran after the code. So this is Marvel Tales, and this is Atlas as well. And then we got more Marvel Tales. So these are like pre-code horror and horror titles. And then we got suspense. So, and then we have Unknown Worlds. So they went into, during the late 50s, after the code got into play, they kind of went out of horror and more into suspense. You get titles like, Journey into Mystery, Tales of Suspense. They went that path. However, they actually had a bunch of issues that happened with their publishing, and so during the mid 50s to 1956, 55, 56, what happened was Marvel, it relied on a distributor that was kind of like the almost like a monopoly distributor, and there was actual case, a case against this company that was distributing Marvel comics, that basically said, hey, they're doing things that kind of were maintaining a monopoly kind of setup, and weren't allowing smaller distributors to get on the newsstands. So what ended up happening was that company that was distributing Marvel comics went out of business. It was pushed out by government. It was just killed. because of a lawsuit, actually. Um, so what ended up happening is Marvel then had to find a new distributor. This is like 56 era. Um, and it found a distributor. I forget what the name of the distributor is, but it found a distributor that was being used by what was going to become DC Comics. And that distributor said, okay, we'll allow you to distribute through us, but we'll only allow you to have 6 or 7 titles per month. So it really limited how many titles that they could do. So they focused more on the suspense, the mystery stuff, and a couple of these titles like Patsy Walker. And so think that was kind of where they went in terms of the late 50s. And then in 61, moving forward, they were kind of falling apart again. They were just, Marvel was kind of floundering actually a lot. And what was happening was DC was actually kind of picking up steam. It during the late 50s, early 60s, it was producing things like All-Star Comics, not All-Star Comics, Showcase, and kind of relaunched the Flash, relaunched Green Lantern, and relaunched Wonder Woman, and relaunched all these kind of books. And DC was kind of picking up again on the superhero thing, whereas Marvel had sort of ignored its superheroes for a while, and now they kind of had this situation where they were like, oh, maybe we should try superheroes. So Goodman basically said, okay, Stan Lee, you make whatever superheroes you want to make. And this first set of superheroes that Stan Lee decided to do was Fantastic Four. And the rest is sort of history. That the success of Fantastic Four, the success of Superman, the success of X-Men really led to Marvel becoming the dominant publisher during the Silver Age and right into the modern age. So that's kind of the whole history of Timely to Atlas. There's a couple interesting things, and if you're into collecting like sort of weird things, the last one, or the first books to have that Marvel Comics, the MC, it was like a little MC on comics, was actually Journey into Mystery number 69. It's the first book to have that MC, and Patsy Walker 95. They both came out in June of 1961. So those are the first true Marvel comics. So Journey into Mystery 69 and Patsy Walker 95. The very last Atlas comic was Dippity Duck number 1. So if you're looking for those kind of key issues in terms of that like transition, those are the ones. But that's the history of those. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. I showed a few cool books. I actually really like, this is one of my favorite Marvel horror covers. I just love this roller coaster thing. So I just wanted to mention that. But yeah, those Marvel pre-code horror are actually quite like hot right now. They're becoming very valuable. You used to be able to pick them up fairly affordably, like about $50 to $100 range. Now they're going for hundreds of dollars. Actually, a few of them are becoming quite expensive. So a lot of people are kind of gravitating to Marvel pre-code horror. So something to look for as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that I didn't lose you when I was showing the wrong thing in terms of the lenticular cover. I thought that was kind of funny. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have a question for me, I will try to answer the right question next week in my Wednesday video. So thanks again for watching. Bye for now.